Welcome to this free immigration help channel. Today is May 16, 2023, and we're getting into the volume 92 of me answering your immigration related questions. As you can see, I have all your comments pulled up in front of me. Before I begin, I will mention, as I always mention in every video on this channel, I am not an immigration attorney. This is not a legal advice. All the information provided in these videos on this channel are directly from official government sources like USCIS and of course the Department of State with their visa bulletin. So let's start with their first comment. Question from Wally HDH. My priority date is end of December 2008. Wow. And documentarily qualified since January 2021. Waiting since 15 years. It's just wasting time, nothing else. No reply, no response, no sympathy. Wally, I'm very sorry you're going through this. I'm assuming you are either forced priority category or probably one of those chargeability areas where just the family reunification process takes way too long. Unfortunately, there are those categories. There are four chargeability areas separate from all the other ones. Basically, the countries, it's China, Mexico, Philippines, and India. And because the immigration numbers are heavier from those countries, we get longer wait times in some of the categories on those countries. But in general, even for all chargeability areas, for some of the categories like forced preference category, brothers and sisters of U.S. citizens, it takes forever. On the plus side, Wally, congratulations on being documentarily qualified. It is a huge step. If you try to reach out, because it does sound like you are trying to reach out and you're not getting any response, I do have a video on this channel. I'll try to find it and post it in my response in the comment. But basically in that video, I described the process of addressing these unpleasant situations where you're either not getting the appropriate response from these government agencies, whether it is USCIS or NVC, Department of State, or you are dealing with some kind of problem and it is not being properly addressed by these government agencies. And the solution with that is, of course, if you reach out to them directly, you're polite, you're professional, you're not getting an appropriate response, then you want to go a little bit higher and you want to reach out to your local elected officials. And I have seen a lot of cases where it did help. People were dealing with some serious issues. For example, one case I'm very familiar with. The person, he was not able basically to get his employment authorization document. Every time he would apply for the employment authorization document, because he was applying based on pending asylum, his application would be denied by saying that 150-day time clock, the EAD clock, has not reached just yet. Even though it has been like a year and a half. Yeah, so it was quite ridiculous, and every time he would call, every time he would go for InfoPass appointment with USCIS, they would tell him different time clock numbers. They would say, "Oh, it's only a few days left. You can apply after a few days." And then he would call again, and they would say, "Oh, it's paused. Your time clock is paused." And then the next time they'd say, "Oh, it's been 90 days." So just ridiculous treatment basically. And he reached out to the senator that was back then a senator in New York. It was the state of New York, one of the senators. And the senator's office, they were actually on behalf of that person, immigrant in pending asylum status, they reached out to USCIS and the issue was resolved. The person was able to get the employment authorization document. So sometimes you do need to take measures like this in your own hands and find different avenues in order to resolve this problem. So Wally, if you really are not getting an appropriate response, I would recommend looking into this. It can be any elected officials, it can be senators, state representatives, whoever it is. In fact, you can basically just do a research on which state you are in, who is the state senator. Find them, go to their websites, and they always have on their websites, they have public relations where you can go and you can find their contact information and you can reach out to them, because the whole purpose of these people is that they're supposed to represent public interest. They are supposed to represent people. basically versus the government, right? The government agencies. And a lot of times they do take on cases like this, especially whenever it comes to immigrants, because again, for them, a lot of times, maybe they're not interested that much in helping anyone, but it's in their interest to actually help because, well, for them it is media exposure. Why? Because all of these cases, they actually do ask you to sign, like a publicity, basically that you're okay with them releasing the information. So they can basically brag about, helping someone, which is not a very good thing, but, it helps you to resolve your case. So if you are really having problems with the government agencies, NVC, because, you are definitely right now with NVC. And if they're not responding to your, public inquiry that you have submitted with the NVC, if they're not responding to your request to expedite your case processing, or they're giving you a boilerplate response, unsatisfactory response, and you're not getting anywhere, you might want to look into one of those avenues where you reach out to your local elected officials. So Wally, I wish you a little bit more patience, hopefully, and I personally can relate because I myself have a petition that I have been waiting for a long time now, and will be waiting for another at least 13 years, which is crazy. But that's just the nature of it. That's just how it is. All right, let's move on to the next one from Ravinder Kaur. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing the name. Sir, F4, force priority category, March 2006 priority date, India, waiting time, please. Of course, Ravinder, thank you for your comment. Let's take a look at the visa bulletin. When we're dealing with the family immigration, and if this is not an immediate relative category, then we're dealing with the visa bulletin, because that's what shows us the backlog on these immigrant visas. Ravinder been waiting now, since 2006. So Wally, you see, even 2 years more. Man, okay, so we know that India has their separate chargeability area. We're going to scroll down to the graph B first. I don't know if Ravinder was already documentarily qualified or not. And looks like India is actually 2 years behind for all chargeability, which is literally the rest of the world. It's February 2008. And India, they have a separate chargeability area. And for them, right now, the priority date that is, the people that filed their I-130 applications back in February 2006 are just now in 2023 getting the full access to the NVC portal so that they can become documentarily qualified. All right, so let's see, February 2006, India, and Ravinder, oh wow, March 2006. Ravinder, so you're literally like 1 month, just a month, maybe 2 months, because visa bulletin has not been moving. So we just got the new release at June 2023. Unfortunately, nothing changed from May 2023 to June 2023. So hopefully in the next months something will update, and Ravinder, your priority date will become current, and the NVC portal will open up for you fully so that you can become documentarily qualified. Now, once your NVC portal is fully open to you, then you are looking, let's see, so we're going to move on from now graph B, which is dates for filing, which is when the basically people waiting for the NVC portal to open up for them. And then for the actual availability of the immigrant visa, let's see, we're going to move to the graph A, which is final action dates, which is dates when people are documentarily qualified with their case. So we're going to take a look at India, and as you can see, it's showing September 2005. So February 2006, September 2005. What is it? September, October, November, December, January. So roughly 6 months, I would say. Another 6 months. So once your NVC portal is open, you're documentarily qualified within 6 months, and then your immigrant visa should be available. So Ravinder, you're really close. You already done most of your waiting, just a little bit more. But I would highly recommend, there is a video that I recently made, it's on this channel, it's called Documentarily Qualified, What Does It Mean? I would highly recommend you check it out, because in that video I show an actual NVC portal that was already documentarily qualified, the person already, they already got their permanent resident card and everything. The process was complete a couple of years ago. But in that video, you can see exactly what you need to pay, the fees, the fee for the DS-260, which is the immigrant visa application, the fee for the affidavit of support, all the civil documents, all the financial documents that you have to submit, basically everything that you need to do in order to become documentarily qualified. If you are aware of it, if you're prepared, by the time you have the NVC portal fully open to you, you might have already all your documents prepared, which I would highly recommend doing, so that once the NVC portal is open, you have everything. Next day, you just submit everything, pay everything, and just be done with it as soon as possible and become documentarily qualified and just, wait for that visa interview. But you're almost there. I would say congratulations, but you still do have a few steps, becoming documentarily qualified, and then of course the immigrant visa. But as long as you're prepared, as long as you're staying on top of your case, everything going to be good, because you're almost there. All right, let's move on to the next one from Wavy FP. Hi there, can I print up the 2x2 passport photos on normal paper? And is the petitioner responsible for sending in both photos? It's not that clear on the website. Wavy, thank you for a question. So if you mean on normal paper, like the regular, like A4, legal size, what is it, 8x5, 11, just regular paper, then no, definitely don't do that. What you want to do is you want to go, I'm assuming you're in the United States because you're dealing with the I-129F fiancé visa, right? So you're working on your fiancé visa for your fiancé. So go to either, Walgreens, CVS, one of them pharmacies that offer the passport style photographs, and just say that you need a passport style photograph with normal white background, and they will do it, and they will give you on the paper that is exactly the paper that you need, and that's what you will be filing to the USCIS. But as for your question whether you need to send both photos or not, let's actually take a look. I'm going to use this as an opportunity to show for everyone who's watching, to show some navigation on USCIS.gov, which is official government website for US citizenship and immigration services. So we're gonna go into forms right here. This is what the website looks like. You can find that link in the description below. We're gonna go to forms, and then we're gonna go to all forms, and you can scroll down because it's alphabetic numerical order, but I'll type in 129, boom, and there we go. Scroll down, find F, there you go, petition for alien fiancé. Now you can see that this petition is not available to file online. So when you file similar petitions like this, physical, by mail, paper, most of the times you do need to provide photographs. So I'm assuming you do need to provide photographs, but let's take a look, because there is a checklist of required initial evidence. So we're gonna click on that, we'll scroll down, and we will see this should tell us what we need. So, did you provide the following: evidence of your US citizenship, obviously birth certificate, passport, whatever, okay. Evidence you or your fiance legally terminated any previous marriages, divorce, court papers, okay. 1 color passport style photograph of yourself and 1 of your fiance, taken within 30 days of you filing this petition. Okay, so we know that yes, you do need to provide 2 photographs, 1 of you and 1 of your fiance. Now, in case if you have a situation where you are in the United States and she is outside of the United States, then obviously you can just go to, like I said, Walgreens, CVS, I don't know, depending on which state you live, and maybe Duane Reed, I don't know if they still have them, because that's what they had in New York, and they did the same services as the CVS and Walgreens here in Florida. But for your fiance, she would have to go to any local, like a photo studio or whatever they have, and she would need to get a digital copy of that photograph, not the actual physical, but the digital version, and then ask her to send it to you, whether email or whatever, doesn't matter, and then take that digital file with you when you go to CVS or Walgreens to get your passport style photograph, and actually ask them to print it on the same paper so that it's exactly, just make sure that she knows the requirements. Let's see what requirements again are. Do they say? let's see, passport style photo. Where did I see? One color passport style. So passport style, it doesn't really say what dimensions are, but they know what passport size is. I'm not sure if it's 2x2, but if it is, then yeah, well, whatever, 2x2. Just give her the. In fact, you can go to CVS and Walgreens, get your own passport style photo, find out the dimensions, take a picture of it, send it to her so that she knows what size it is supposed to be and what dimensions, dimensions, the size, and the background, how it's supposed to look, and then she can do the same, send it back to you, and you can go and print it out here and then send both physical. But it's one of you and one of her. All right, so let's let me put this in, and we're gonna move on. And wavy, I don't know, for whatever reason, I assumed that it's you, he, and she is she, but if it's vice versa, I'm sorry. It's just, I don't know why I assumed that. But let's move on to the next question from Heather Houghton. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing the name. Hello, can J1 holders use this form to apply for an extension? Thank you. Heather, thank you very much for your question. So whenever it comes to J1 extensions, you don't deal with the extension yourself per se, so you don't have to worry about this form I-539. Whenever it comes to extending the J1, you actually have to deal with your, what are they called? Program officer. I think that's what they're called. And basically what they have to do is they have to, first of all, determine your eligibility for the extension, right? So if you still have that exchange program and you can stay longer, because these programs, depending on in which field it is, and there's a lot of them. There's a field of, some services, hospitality, there is, medical field, and depending on which field that exchange program is in, the duration of those programs and the validity of the J1 visa as you enter the country, basically the duration of stay, will vary as well. All right. So it's your program officer. They have to get you that new updated, I think it's called DS 2019. I'm pretty sure it's a DS 2019. Hopefully I'm not confusing the form. But it is all of that they are doing. Obviously you will be working with them because there are a few things. Most likely you'll have to pay that service fee, basically, showing that you have the insurance, that you have the means of financial support to cover your extended stay. But again, because the field of J1 is so I would say broad, there's so many different fields that are involved in J1. It will depend on your specific field, but your point of contact for that is going to be your program officer, who basically work with you to get your offer, to find your not the employer, but basically the sponsor for your exchange program. You would be contacting them, so you would not have to worry about the I-539. All right, let me put this, and we're gonna move on to the next question from Alabarche Produ. I'm sorry, I don't want to butcher it, so I'm sorry if I'm definitely mispronouncing the name. Hello, my priority date is November 14, 2022. My I-140 was approved by USCIS on February. Congratulations, it's great news. My doubt is this line of priority date for those who have passed the step of the I-140 approval process? Okay, so whenever it comes to I-140, that is the employment based. So it's the same thing. We're looking at the visa bulletin, but we're not looking at the first section of it because that's for the family sponsor preference. We actually scroll down further to employment preferences, and it's very similar. There's dates for filing, and there's also the filing action date. Dates for filing, again, are those that are that once they are approved by USCIS and transferred to the NVC, they are at that stage waiting for the portal to open up to actually deal with their document early qualification process. And then whenever it comes to the A, is the final action taken on the case, which is with the NVC basically document early qualifying you. That's considered to be the final action date. So yes, you are absolutely correct. The priority date is for those who priority date is literally the date when you received that notice of receipt from USCIS. So you file your I-130 or I-140. Once USCIS reviews it and accepts it, they send you the notice of receipt. You will get it in the mail, you'll open it up. On that notice of receipt there will be the date of the acceptance, basically, of that application. That is your priority date. So no doubts there. You're 100% correct. So let's move on to the next one from Lisa Clay. Very informative. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you very much for your kind comment. I'm really glad that this was helpful. Moving further to Roger Espinosa. Can new Nicaraguan parolees apply for TPS? Okay, Roger, great question. So whenever it comes to the temporary protected status, it comes down to the availability of the program for that particular country. So it really depends, because if the country is in distress, and of course these programs, they have their duration. So for example, USCIS, they open up, not USCIS per se, it's going to be the whole Department of Homeland Security, because that's who basically decides stuff like this. Let's say there's some kind of problem in the country, there's war, some kind of serious situation. They open up these temporary protected status programs for people who are in the United States. You apply for it because you say, I cannot go, I need a temporary protection, I cannot go back to the country because there is a serious situation. So if the situation continues in the country, a lot of times Department of Homeland Security, they make a decision to extend these temporary protected status programs. So in order for you to find, it's hard for me to tell you because it's a very, very specific questions, very specific situation, to Nicaragua. But if you want to find any information specifically whether Nicaraguan parolees qualify for temporary protected status, then again, your best bet would be, not the best bet, your only source of information would be uscis.gov. And we're gonna go to, let's see, temporary. Actually, you know what? To make it completely easy, you can just type in either TPS. Well, let's see, there's a for Haiti, for El Salvador right now. Let's see if there's a general page for, there we go, temporary protected status. So we got our general page. Let's see, so this is the first alert for employment authorization. Temporary protected beneficiary, that's not TPS designations. Designation. So I'm thinking, so there is a TPS for Somalia, there's a TPS for Yemen. Let's see, this is something else for Haiti, TPS for Ethiopia, TPS for Burma, TPS for Syria, and TPS for Venezuela. Okay, let's look at the whole list. And you said Nicaragua. Okay. So I'm thinking you might be able to, because look, on the countries that are currently designated for TPS, we have Nicaragua. So we're gonna click on this, and there we go. I have a separate video on how to file for the temporary protected status, so you can take a look. But looks like yes, absolutely, you can definitely do that. So I'm gonna put this, and I will actually type in link here. And I will copy this page right here, and you can do your research. And if obviously along the ways, if you have any questions, definitely let me know, and I will be happy to address them. And really, it goes for everyone. Everyone who's watching these videos. If you have any additional questions, don't hesitate to ask them in the comments below. Just make sure that you are not asking underneath my comment, because for some reason YouTube does not send me those notifications. Alright, let's move on to the next one from Sok Vibul. Sok, thank you very much for another question. Appreciate it. Thanks for taking time to answer, and it will mess up for the long waiting. However, it is better than Mexico. It is amazing to be, incredible. 23 years. Exactly. And one more question, sir, relating to 1 year process from the last date of contact with NVC. All submitted fees, forms, and documents will expire, and case will begin the pre-termination. Yes, these. What is the difference from the IV availability at NVC, sir? Okay, so I'm not sure I understand your question correctly, but I am thinking that you're referring to that lack of action on the case that was transferred to the NVC, and you are correct. it's 1 year if within a year the petitioner who started the I-130 process, or I-140 for that matter, employment-based, they do not access the NVC portal, they do not start their documentary qualification process, starting all the, applying everything and paying all the fees. If that does not happen within a year, the application, the whole petition is considered to be basically void. It's considered to be abandoned. So it's very important. That's why it's very important to stay on top of the case. Obviously, it's really hard to miss, especially when you're waiting for so long, and it's an important thing. So it's really hard to miss that. But just in case, yes, definitely you want to stay on top of it and make sure that everything is submitted. Now, I'm assuming that you're also comparing that to the time that people are waiting after becoming documentarily qualified for that immigrant visa interview, and why it does not expire during the visa interview. It's also a great question, and I actually had a similar question about this, because a lot of times you're documentarily qualified and you have to wait another year, another 2 years, 2.5 years for the actual immigrant visa interview, which means that all your documents that you have that when you go to the interview are 1 year, 2 year, 2.5 years old, right? So yes, it is a little bit kind of, worrying. You're going with the old documents to the, immigrant interview. So my recommendation for that is this, you were documentarily qualified with a certain set of documents. These are the documents that you want to have ready in the folder for your interview. Absolutely 100%, especially the financial documents, tax returns. So let's say you were documentarily qualified with the tax returns for the year, say 2020 and 2021, and then you have your interview in 2024. So now you have also 2022 and 2023 tax returns that you have not shown them. Have it in the main folder, your documents that you have been documentarily qualified with, in this example 2020 and 2021 tax returns. Obviously birth certificate, stuff like this doesn't change. You don't get a new one. You bring those two obviously in the same folder. But just in case, have with you a separate folder that you have somewhere with the most recent stuff. Just in case if they ask, you can say, oh yeah, of course, I do have the most recent ones. Boom, there you go. Please take a look if you want to take a look. Just in case, to be on the safe side. Most of the times, they only ask for the documents that you were documentarily qualified with, but you definitely want to have, just to be on the safe side, you don't want to take any risk, to have the most recent stuff. And that is, of course, applicable mostly to financial documents, tax returns and tax transcripts. But great question, so hopefully I understood it correctly, and hopefully I was able to answer it. But let me know if you do have any follow-up questions. I'll be happy to address that as well. All right, let's move on to the next one from Akiatha, Washington. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing the name, and thank you very much for being publicly subscribed. This is what this icon means. I really appreciate it. Hello, how can I find out how long the wait is for the interview once I have been documentarily qualified? Category IR1. Akiatha, congratulations on being documentarily qualified. So the really good news is that once you are documentarily qualified in any of the IR categories, this immediate relative, your immigrant visa is already available. In fact, your immigrant visa is available really once you are approved by USCIS and your case is transferred to the NVC. So now, really, the only thing that you're waiting for is for the embassy to schedule the appointment, because the immigrant visa is already there. It's basically waiting for you, to take it. It's really just comes down to the scheduling with the US Embassy. Or unless, of course, the beneficiary is in the United States, then, of course, it has to do with the scheduling here at the local field office for the interview. What you can do, if you want to, if you're interested to maybe get some estimates of how long it takes, usually it can take anywhere between 3 months, and I've seen it take as long as a year for immediate relative category. But on average, it's somewhere between 6 to 8 months, and it is scheduled. If it's processed in the US Embassy, then it really depends on how busy the US Embassy is. In the different countries, US embassies, they have more busy schedules for different categories. But what you can do is you can reach out to that US embassy where the beneficiary will be going through the interview, and call them over the phone and ask them, say, hey, I have an I-130 petition. I was documentarily qualified. My immigrant visa is supposed to be available because I am an immediate, it's an immediate relative category. I wanted to see if you guys by any chance can give me the information on how long I should expect my interview. It's at their discretion, so don't be upset if they don't tell you any information. Sometimes they don't. They just say, oh, we can't give you that information, which is, fine. You're not going to be, waiting for crazy long time anyway. Well, at least 6 months to some people it might seem like a crazy long time, but again, if you watch this video from the beginning, you heard some 23 years waiting somebody, and if you're from Mexico, or earlier people waiting from 2008, from 2006, that's some crazy long time to wait. But you can find the US Embassy information. I'll show you the website. It's called usembassy.gov, and it gives you the list of all the countries. So for example, if your beneficiary is, say, from Jordan, for example, we're going to click on Jordan, and all the US embassies in Jordan, the list of them will come up. I'm pretty sure it's got to be one there, and then there's a phone number right away, so you can just reach out and ask them. Again, don't be upset if they don't give you any information, because it's at their discretion, but it is worth a shot, because sometimes you get a nice person on the phone and they're ready to help you, and they can take a look at their schedule and say, oh, we have 3-4 months ahead until the availability, so you will have a rough estimate for yourself of how long to wait. One recommendation I'll give you is typically they schedule 30 days in advance the interviews. So let's say if they schedule it today, they will schedule, your interview will be 30 days ahead. And they give you 30 days so that you do your medical within that time. And I would recommend doing medical as soon as the interview is scheduled. Don't wait closer to the interview, because sometimes I've seen situations where doctors, they didn't have enough time, the civil surgeons, to send all those medical documents to the consul before the interview. So you definitely don't want that to happen, because it will be rescheduled. But yes, if you have any questions along the way, you're more than welcome to come back and ask them here on the channel, and I'll try to address them to the best of my abilities. So thank you everyone for tuning in today for this video. Thank you all for your questions. I really appreciate it. If you have any follow-up questions, don't hesitate to ask them. Always appreciate your time. God bless, and I will see you all in the next video.